The waiting room was unnervingly still, a sterile chamber where even the slightest hint of warmth seemed to vanish. I sat on a stiff plastic chair, my eyes fixed on the blank television mounted on the wall. As the ceaseless hum of fluorescent lights underscored my isolation. The pervasive scent of antiseptic clung to the air, with each inhalation serving as a reminder of the clinical precision that had come to define this place. Above me, an old clock hung on the wall, a relic with ornate hands that defied logic. Its ticking was irregular, sometimes skipping a beat or even running backwards for a split second, as if time itself were being tampered with. I found its behavior oddly hypnotic, a silent metronome to the growing dissonance around me. My thumb idly traced the familiar grooves of the old silver bracelet on my wrist, my wife's parting gift, once joked about as a way to remind me, just remember, you belong to me. Now its cool metal served as a bittersweet tether to a life I feared was slipping away. I was frozen there, watching the clock tick by, each irregular tick amplifying the pounding of my heart, as an unsettling silence enveloped me. I could still hear the nurse's calm voice from earlier. "Don't worry, Mr. Baker, it only moves when you move." But as I stared at the operating room door, something felt seriously off. The unusual hum of chatter was gone. I looked around and realized the nurse and everyone else had just vanished. The whole hospital felt empty, like I was the only soul left. I leaned forward and mumbled, "Who's there?" But my words were swallowed by a creeping silence, the erratic flicker of lights, and a strange pressure building in my head. That's when I noticed it, a rippling distortion at the edge of my vision, as if reality itself were torn open. There, lounging in the periphery, was a creature that defied explanation, an interdimensional presence whose form shimmered between hues and shadows, shifting in a way that made it seem neither entirely here nor there. Its unblinking gaze locked onto me, silent and menacing, daring me to make a move. For a long, heart-stopping moment, I stood paralyzed, caught in that creature's overwhelming stare. It moved slowly at first, almost languidly, its form undulating with an otherworldly fluidity, as if it were suspended between dimensions. Every second of that standoff made me feel as though my very soul were being measured against some ancient, incomprehensible standard. I knew instinctively that any moment might provoke it, a silent challenge laid out before me. Its eyes, cold and unyielding, seemed to command stillness, forcing me into an agonizing stalemate. Remain frozen and face an eternal confrontation, or risk moving and unleash its wrath. The tension became unbearable, my heart hammered in my ears, and driven by a desperate need to escape, I forced myself to move. With trembling legs, I inched towards an open door, a dim corridor, each step a gamble against the creature's silent threat. Behind me, the clock's hands jerked unpredictably, a visual echo of my every faltering step. In that instant, the interdimensional being sprang into action. Its form shifted abruptly, darting after me with a speed that defied logic. A predatory sprint that blurred the boundaries of space and time. I caught only the eerie sound of its movement, as if it were tearing through the very fabric of reality. No longer a distant menace, it was right on my heels, its intense gaze burning into my back. I raced down those narrow halls, my footsteps echoing my mounting terror. Then, in a narrow stretch of corridor, as I desperately tried to outpace it, I tripped. In that split second, I felt its cold, otherworldly touch, a searing slash of pain along my forearm. The wound burned through my nerves with such intensity that my vision narrowed and the agony became unbearable. My legs buckled under the onslaught, and the overwhelming pain sent me spiraling into darkness. When I came to, harsh fluorescent lights stabbed my eyes. I was in a hospital bed, machines beeping in a sterile room that felt all too convincing. My thoughts raced, trying to stitch together the fragmented chaos of the chase, the excruciating pain of the wound, and that oppressive, silent corridor. Above the bed, the same erratic clock now loomed, its maddening dance of contorted hands, constant reminder that time was no longer trustworthy. A gentle knock on the door pulled me from my disoriented reverie. A nurse entered, her smile crisp and unnervingly cheerful under the glare of the lights. Without missing a beat, she announced in a calm, measured tone, "Mr. Baker, the surgery went well." There was an unsettling precision in her words, as if they were a part of a well-rehearsed script. As she adjusted the settings on the monitor with meticulous efficiency, she added, "Your wife will be here soon." Her voice, too serene for the chaos I had just experienced, sent a shiver down my spine. The promise of her arrival, though, meant to be reassuring, only deepened the uncanny dissonance that permeated every corner of my mind. The door creaked open, and there she stood. Yet as she stepped into the room, every movement felt unnaturally delayed, as if invisible strings were pulling her along. Then her voice, soft and insistent, cut through the sterile silence. "Honey, you don't have to be scared. This is the real deal. You remember everything, right? The hospital, the doctors, our love." My mind reeled, torn between the haunting memories of that waiting room and the gentle cadence of her words. I don't get it," I stammered, voice trembling. "I saw things, felt something chasing me. That waiting room, it felt all too real." She moved closer, her hand reaching out as if to soothe my frayed nerves. "They were just illusions, love. Your mind's way of shielding you from some hard truths. You're safe here. This is where you belong." Her words were hypnotic, a lullaby, promising solace after the chaos. For a moment, the seductive pull of her reassurance nearly overwhelmed me, but beneath the surface, a stubborn doubt stirred. No, something's off. I can feel it. I don't know if I can trust you. In that instance, her eyes flickered, a brief, almost imperceptible glint that sent a chill racing down my spine. She stepped even closer, her smile widening in a manner that felt both inviting and menacing. "You're overthinking it, love. Let me help you. Just let go of your fears and accept this." Closer she came, the more I sensed an undercurrent of menace, a subtle distortion in her features, a lag in her movements that defied the natural flow of life. Instinct roared within me, urging escape. With a surge of adrenaline, I shoved her back. The act felt like a betrayal, even as it snapped me back to reality. In that charged moment, the air shattered with a sudden, bone-chilling crack. Fluorescent lights overhead flickered violently, casting erratic shadows that stretched like grasping fingers. As I staggered backward, my heart pounded in my ears, and from the far corner of the room, a dark, shifting presence emerged. A being whose form wavered between this world and some other, far more sinister plane. Its eyes, voids of ancient malice, fixed upon me as it spoke in a voice that was both a whisper and a roar.
You never left the waiting room.
The walls convulsed as the sterile confines dissolved into a nightmare of swirling shadows and fractured time. I stood frozen, caught between the remnants of a reality I once knew and a terror that refused to relent. In that final, shattering moment, as the boundaries of my world crumbled into darkness, I realized that I had been waiting for myself in that waiting room all along. Even before the chase and the chaos began, trapped in an endless cycle, here I am once again, sitting in that same cold waiting room.